Thank you for tuning in to another show. And today's topic is you're never too old for daddy's love. And what that means is whether you're 5 years old or you're 102, that the love from a father is priceless, and you always need it, and you always crave it, and you always want it anchored in your life. I remember one day coming from the circus, and at that time the circus was my favorite thing, just seeing the lions and seeing the tigers at the circus. That would always blow my mind. About a block away from Madison Square Garden, I remember my mother saying to me, "There's your father." And I thought it was a joke. I thought she was playing. I didn't realize that she literally meant, "There's your father." And this man walked up to us and he said hello. He called her by her name and he looked down at me and he said hello and he shook my hand, and for the first time I heard the other half of my existence speak to me, and it sent chills through my body. And I was so happy to see this man. He was tall, he was well built, he was dressed well, colors matched, shoes were awesome, and I'm telling you the things that really stood out. And I wanted to be like him in that moment. And there was no man that was walking this earth at the time that could have taken his place and said, "I'll step in and be your dad." Because here he was, and he was everything that I thought he would be. After that encounter, I saw him about 3 times, and then he was gone. And the next time I saw him, I was in high school, and I bumped into him accidentally. And so my life with my dad has always been a series of bumping into him and having these brief encounters, but never nothing permanent or anything that was long lasting. And I just moved on through life. But here's the thing that I want y'all to understand. That whole entire time, from the time that I was born, from the time that I've met him, to the time that he disappeared, I always loved my father. And I kept telling myself that I didn't love him, I didn't need him. In fact, I was telling myself that I hate him. But the truth was, he became the most important thing to me. And so much of who I was evolved into who he was. My style of dress, my color combination, my flair for understanding how to look good in public. These were some of the things that my dad had down pat, and all of those qualities were in me. My dad had a way of being around the right people at the right time and never really getting into trouble. And I had those same qualities. But as I got older, I began to realize that the hurt, the anger, the loneliness, it was unbearable. And I couldn't figure out a way to shake it. And I was broken. And even though at this point I was getting into relationships and now becoming a father, I was missing a lot of things. My relationship with women, they didn't really pan out. And I realized they didn't pan out because I didn't know what to do with a woman other than the usual things that men and women do. But the talking with a woman, the movement of what you do inside of the relationship, all of that was there because I never had a man to show me. And even if he didn't sit down and personally show me what to do, just seeing him interact with another woman would have given me some kind of blueprint. And I didn't have that. So I was bitter. I was angry. And to be quite frank, I was lost. And I paid for it. And so the reason why I'm talking about this, because there are so many men and so many women that are at the point of loneliness, that are at the point of despair, because they don't know what to do with this bitterness, this isolation, this being fatherless. And yes, he can be in your life, but you can still be fatherless, because if there's no connection, if there's no communication, then you're still fatherless. As a result, I went on to tutor young people, to work with young people, and to try to be a mentor, because I wanted desperately for other young people not to feel and endure what I've endured for so long. And let me tell you something. When you are walking around trying to figure things out for yourself, there's nothing more enormous than that. And I blame my mother and I blame my father. But the truth is, I needed to find a way to have a relationship with forgiveness so I could move on. And here's the most important part of this story. I went on to develop a relationship with my dad. And when that relationship was really cultivated, it became the most precious thing that I had encountered, because I've learned so much about this man. I love this man dearly, and I've watched him grow. And I understand that the man that I met when I was a little boy, that guy doesn't exist. That the man that exists today is the man that I've always needed. And the truth is, if he had stayed around when I was 9, 10, 11 years old, he would have been an empty vessel to me. Now I have the complete individual, and I have him in a way that I could have never had him as a child. And I'm very appreciative of the fact that sometimes we need time to figure out how things can grow into a space that feels good. How things can grow into a moment that truly embraces you and connects with you. Instead of worrying about what I didn't have and how it wasn't there and how I'm lost and how it hurts. And these feelings and emotions are valid. But the thing that I've come to learn is that every human being needs to have a relationship with forgiveness. And when forgiveness comes into play, when you have that relationship with forgiveness, it relieves you of all of that enormous weight. I felt like Hercules trying to lift a building, and the building was too heavy. And when I connected with my dad, it was like he took the weight and he said, "Here, you don't have to do this anymore, because I'm here with your son." And he shared with me some of the things that he's been exposed to, some of the encounters that he's had with his life. He's remarried. He's had children. My siblings are beautiful, inside out. And I look at the man that helped raise them. I say, oh my God, look what he did. But by the time he became their father, he already transitioned into that other man. And that other man right now, let me tell you, he's brilliant. And I'm no longer a little boy. I'm a full-grown man with my own children and my own life. But folks, I have to be honest with you. When my father comes around, I transition into a little boy. I turn into a little boy. I'm gushing. The sound of his voice, the way he calls my name, when he tells me stories about his childhood or his life. I'm sitting in the front row. The only thing that's missing is popcorn. And I want more and more. And everything to me is an Oscar performance because I love watching him. I love seeing him. And now we've gotten to this point now where he asks me to prepare meals for him because he lives in love with my cooking. And it gives me such pleasure to show him some of the things that I can do. And we're taking this journey together. And I want everybody to have that. Will everybody have that? They won't. But I've gotten to a place now where I don't blame him. Sometimes life doesn't have answers. And I was at one of those places where I didn't have answers. But I need to tell you this, and this is the most important part of this story. My father went out with me for dinner. And he talked about his childhood and when I was born. And I realized he was 18, 19 years old when he had me. He was just a kid. And I asked myself, if I was 18 or 19, how would I have handled the same situation? And to be honest with you, I don't know. But I understand that it was a moment that was too big for him and a moment that he wasn't prepared for. And in that moment, right away, I relieved him of everything. In that moment, I had forgiven him and I loved him more because he gave me some clarity to why I had been exposed to what I've been exposed to. See, there was a part of me that felt that some of this was intentional, and it wasn't intentional. It was just two kids at the time playing with life and not understanding the consequences. I talk with men all the time because I work with men. And one thing that I get from all of them is that each and every single one of them, whether they're 25, 15, 65, 75, each and every one of them has an undying love for their fathers. Some of them have the opportunity to reactivate that love, and some never had that love. There was a man that told me once that he met his dad about 3 or 4 times. And that his dad was the most influential person in his life. And he said, I never loved any man the way I love my father. And when I heard those words, I understood what he meant. Because that's the way I feel about my dad. So the moral of this story is that to find true love, you have to have a relationship with forgiveness. And when you have a relationship with forgiveness, you can stop unwrapping, you can start unwrapping the gift that was given to you, which is the opportunity to trust again, to love again, to live again, and to move without this burden. Because sometimes things happen to you that you don't have any say-so with. You're this there. And the only thing that you can do is take care of yourself and keep it moving. So this has been deep. My name is JB the Mentor, and I hope this message reach every woman, every man, and every child possible. And know that you don't have to walk around with a gaping hole inside of you. I'm wearing this t-shirt, right? And it has a bullseye on it. And you know what that bullseye is for? That's for you to target the negative energy that is in your life. Target it, pull back, release, hit that thing, explode it, and move that debris out of the way and get on with your life. That the power of forgiveness is the second strongest element in life. Because when you deal with the power of forgiveness, then you can deal with the most powerful element in life, which is love. My name is JB the Mentor, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you. And like I always say, love yourself, love your community, be the change that you want to see. And yes, you're never too old for a daddy's love. Peace.